Hello and welcome to coverage of Pro Tour Fate Reforged from Washington, D.C. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe. I'm in the booth with Randy Buehler and Ian Duke, and we are ready for Round 8 coverage. We've got, well, another Hall of Famer down there in the feature match area, Frank Karsten from the Netherlands, sitting at 6-1. He's playing Affinity. He plays that quite a bit. You take a look at Frank there. He's running the numbers. There's Osman Ozguney from Turkey, also sitting at 6-1, playing a modern staple. Wait a minute. He's playing
an extended
Faeries.
staple.
Yeah, there you go.
Playing an extended staple. Hasn't really shown up in modern yet.
Yeah, you know, they unbanned, and by they I mean you and
That's
company, unbanned Bitter Blossom a ban cycle or two ago. And, you know, some people thought maybe Faeries comes back. It hasn't. But it looks like Osman here has found a use for it. So let's see what happens in the early stages of this 8th round of Modern here.
It's a pretty slow start for Karsten. He only played one card.
One card. That is woefully behind. Now, this could be the big turn, of course, where he dumps his whole hand. He does have a Springleaf Drum. But his opponent now has 2 untapped blue mana sources. You take a look at Osman. Let's see what Karsten has for the early stages.
First Pro Tour.
It's his first Pro Tour?
His lifetime record is on the screen at 0-0-0.
Wow. Looks like he's played a GP.
Yeah, that looks like a day 2 GP finish.
Day 2.
Play Rolling Jar. Yeah. Slopes here.
Well, there was a better turn than the first one,
Mana
guys.
Leak, though.
Go.
Yeah, it runs the Steel Overseer into Mana Leak.
It gets right into Mana Leak there. So as good as that was for Karsten, Osman is... you know, he's not under too much pressure at the moment.
Yeah, that's really what Osman needed here is a slow start from Karsten. The Faeries deck has so many reactive cards like counter spells and spell snare and so forth, misbind click, that he just needs time to set up.
So have you had a chance to look at this list, Ian?
Yeah, I've looked at the Faeries list a little bit.
What are we looking at as far? I mean, I hearken back to what has it been? 5, 6, 7 years now since it's been in Standard, and I remember that deck. Is this similar?
Yeah, it's really similar here. No huge surprises. Most of the nuances are in particular splits of removal spells and counter spells. He does have 2 Jace Balerins in the main deck.
This deck seems sweet.
Yeah. 4 misbind clicks.
I don't know how well it matches up against Master of Ethereum and company, but we'll get at least a little bit of a sample going here. And this is going to be Thoughtcast for Karsten. Gets to play it for just blue thanks to Affinity. The ability. So he's piling up a couple more cards in his hand here.
Well against this card. I was. Things changed when Epson became more popular.
It's funny. Osman's done his homework. He's talking to Frank about how Frank used to argue against including Thoughtcast in the Affinity deck in online articles. And Frank admits, I changed my mind.
So here's a potent threat in the form of cranial plating. Osman declined to counterspell the Thoughtcast. Maybe he's saving his counterspells to go after these high impact threats.
Yeah, Osman said, I have to think. Give me a minute here. Something like a Cryptic Command could be pretty nice here.
And if he did indeed save a counterspell, it looks like he did.
It's a Cryptic Command. He also has Misbind Click ×2. Is that what you guys are seeing in his hand?
Yeah, appears to be the case. And I do like him saving the Cryptic Command for the cranial plating here. Affinity is a deck where, even though he drew 2 cards off the Thoughtcast, a lot of the cards aren't as relevant in the later game, and you really just have to watch out for those single individual threats like a Ravager, like a cranial plating, like an Etched Champion.
Knight. Sometimes you just gotta send them out now.
And so despite having a lot of cards on the board, Karsten doesn't have a lot of pressure yet, which again is just what the Faeries player needs.
In fact,
none.
Yeah. On that turn. He contemplated making an attack for 0, decided against it. And Osman has now untapped. And can he get that Faeries lock going here? Not currently.
It'll be interesting to see. He does have a Mutavault, which can provide a champion for the misbind click, but we'll see. He might wait until combat to bring down the click and try to ambush one of Karsten's creatures. It's of course the age-old dilemma against Faeries. Do I play my spells pre-combat and play into Cryptic Command, or do I wait till post-combat and potentially play into misbind click, tapping the out during combat?
And in this case, it looks like Osman had a second copy of Cryptic Command. I mean, You got to figure that this is going to start getting quite hard for Karsten to overcome. I mean, you now have Osman having resolved 3 hard counters and really kept Karsten at bay. The question is, when can Ozguney turn the corner, right? I mean, we've seen these Faeries decks go from the control route to the beatdown route on a dime in the past. I wonder if it's going to be similar here.
Yeah, and Mistbind Click is particularly interesting in this matchup because a lot of Affinity's pressure comes from its lands in the form of Blinkmoth and Inkmoth Nexus. So Mistbind actually a tool that can tap those down as well.
Update from the back table, by the way. Austin Burcevic playing Infect at 7-0 is trying to become King of the Hill versus Jelger Vigersma. Gitaxian Probe shows him that Jelger has a turn 4 kill lined up with the twin deck. So Burcevic just kills him turn 3 with his Infect.
I like that plan.
Okay, great shot.
Back into our match here, it looks like Ozguney has a Mistbind Click during Karsten's upkeep.
Yep.
Opting to tap him out and prevent him from playing spells rather than ambush him during combat.
Now, did he activate his Mutavault here?
He did.
All right.
But Karsten with the Galvanic Blast, preventing the champion. A 2-for-1 there. That's a huge play.
Wow,
because,
that's massive.
yeah, Ozguney has a second Mistbind Click in his hand, but now no way to provide a champion for it.
Now, does he have a Fairy Conclave there?
No.
I think that's a Secluded Glen, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cards in hand? Yeah.
So Karsten's still without a ton of pressure, but able to chip away for a few points of damage here and
Yeah,
there.
the Galvanic Blast there feels huge.
Yeah.
That was ridiculous.
I mean, we can see Osman's hand. It's kind of garbage at this point.
And as it turns out, that was the singleton Galvanic Blast in Karsten's deck. So just really what he needed there. And honestly, I don't blame Ozguney for not playing around it. I mean, it's a card that you see show up in Affinity lists, but not in every list, not in 4 copies a lot of the time. And with few cards in hand, I would have just gone for it as well. I think that was the play.
Yeah, I mean, you talked last turn about the dilemma, right? For Karsten, do you play your spells into the Cryptic Command, or do you attack into the potential Mistbind Click? And Osman had both.
Yeah.
Looked good.
So what is Karsten in the tank about here?
Does he have anything left in his hand? He doesn't, right?
Yeah, it looks like he's debating how
What
to attack with his
But what are his
lands.
choices?
Yeah.
Don't you just... Oh, has he got an Inkmoth and a Blinkmoth?
Oh,
he had a Ravager.
Okay,
Well,
that makes
There
sense.
you go.
So he was doing Ravager math here, and the coast is now clear.
Ravager
Arcbound
provides a lot
Ravager.
to think about, it turns out. And Karsten is the kind of guy who will often just sack a bunch of stuff to Ravager and move all in. Has declined that option here, I guess?
Yes, he has not done it this time.
Go.
And he's just going to pass the turn back after hitting for 4. And Osman needs to find something, and he needs to find it quickly, because that Mistbind Click is stranded in his hand.
Are you asking
currently.
me or like in general?
No, I'm talking to you.
Yes.
Okay.
Didn't hear what Osman asked him, but looks like he was just
What's
chatting.
tough play?
I imagine. No, it's my first time, so I asked.
Osman playing his first Pro Tour, but he qualified this the hard way. The MOX, the Magic Online Championship Series.
I was going to say, I thought I recognized his name from Magic Online.
Yeah, that's his online name.
Yep.
I didn't know that was his actual name. I thought that must be a superhero I've never heard of or something, but there it is. He's got Mana Leak in hand.
Turn this into a creature.
Yeah.
Turn this into a creature.
So now Karsten has an Inkmoth Nexus attacking, which in combination with the Ravager.
Swing in with.
Got to be close to lethal.
Yeah, I think it can be lethal if he chooses to go for it.
Yep.
And Vendilion Click, which is going to serve sort of the Doomblade route. He's actually going to target himself with it.
Yep.
So you might put away that Mistbind Click. He does have to reveal it, though.
Yeah,
okay,
it's a
the
mana
Mana
leak.
Leak, obviously, yeah.
So the
At this
Mana
stage
Leak
of the game.
goes away. Yeah, Carson's already got a board state that needs to be dealt with. Having reactive cards stuck in your hand isn't going to get you anywhere. And he's going to block the Signal Pest because that's, what we call a free block here. Now the question is, does Karsten have enough to throw everything on Inkmoth.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's going to sacrifice the one that was going to die anyway, the Signal Pest, but uh-oh.
Is this the Orban Ravager?
Sure.
Ravager's now up to 3/3. He could hit for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
It's not attacking, yeah?
It's actually attacking. It's not attacking.
Yeah,
All
one
right, so
Signal Pest
3, 4, 5. Yeah, it's still a good hit. Hitting for 7.
This is 8. Now it's 9, I think.
So Osman boldly leaving the Inkmoth Nexus unblocked,
Yeah.
even though Karsten can potentially go all in on it, so to speak, and get the
Yeah.
kill. through
And you can
poison
see what
counters.
Osman's doing, right? He wants to try to set up his Mistbind click by having that Vendilion click on the battlefield.
Yep.
But this could be a greedy play.
Inkmoth is lethal, right? If he does move all in?
It
It
feels
is, yeah.
like it,
So we'll
yeah.
see if Karsten makes the bold play of going in on that. Of course, Osman has 2 mana up, which could represent any number of removal spells.
I think that Frank is
Yeah, I
thinking
don't-
exactly about what those
I don't
could
think
be.
you move all in here,
Okay.
right? You're
I would
so
like to
far
take damage.
ahead.
Yeah, I agree. I just don't think it makes sense for Karsten.
I mean, you hit him for
It's,
9 down to like 5.
6, 7, 8,
I like
9.
he's chosen a moderate
Regular
route just to get in a
damage,
lot
two
of normal
Okay,
damage
9
with the
regular damage and
Ravager and
5.
sort of set up
Yeah,
for
2 poison.
a pretty easy lethal next turn.
Go.
Draw step here. Looks like a tech edge or something for Osman.
There's another Affinity player in this feature match area, by the way. Roberto Esposito at 7-0,
Okay.
playing against Seth Manfield, also 7-0.
I would like to
And Esposito got it done.
victimize him.
So he's up a game.
Oh.
Wow.
Please read it to be sure.
Did you hear what Osman said?
Vampire,
I would like to
victimize him.
Any of those.
Victim of night here for Osman
Sure. Oh, we
Ozguney.
can read.
Yeah, it's
A
a destroy
card?
effect, though.
Yeah, and it kills quite a few things in Modern for
Killed a welding jar.
2 black. Did kill a welding jar this time. Interestingly, Osman did that in the main phase, which means that the thing that gets regenerated, if it were, if it were in combat, it would get removed from combat when it regenerated. But so Karsten getting good value from a jar there.
So a tricky spot for Osman
Oh,
here.
geez.
He'd love to be able to use the Mistbind click to tap down
Cranial
Karsten's
plating
lands,
off the
but
top.
with the Ravager being able to move counters around at will, he can't afford to tap out. He has to at least represent having something.
I'll look up to this.
Now he
contest.
has to have something. Karsten won't
Go to
even be,
combat.
because of the cranial plating, Karsten isn't even forced to sack Ravager to create a lethal
Tricky
attacker.
with these.
Click can only block one of those.
Okay. The effect on stack.
Yeah, so he says, trigger goes on. But now what?
Yeah, unfortunately, even representing having a removal spell,
I mean, he does have a mutavault.
Karsten's move is pretty straightforward here. Turn him
Right.
sideways, and
2 of them are lethal. So yeah, you have to block both the lethal threats.
the thing is, even if Karsten takes the conservative route here and doesn't move any counters,
This is
Osman's
fine.
still
I
in
have,
pretty sorry shape.
Right.
He's
He
sort of
could
in-
also
Like
just
some
dump
really
all
good
of his
damage.
counters
So we're
over
okay
on
with
the
this.
Yeah,
Memnon.
if
On the
Karsten
Memnon,
sacks
yeah,
the
he
Ravager,
can.
then
Yeah.
then he's
Nice.
basically saying, "Show me a removal spell, or I win."
Right, but Karsten
Karsten's-
doesn't really have any need to do that. He can just keep attacking and sort of put Osman in the abyss mode, chump blocking every turn.
Right.
I'll equip over here.
In fact, he has to chump block twice. It's double
Mm-hmm.
abyss.
And he's going to have that again this turn. And I think that Osman is going to have to scoop him up pretty quickly here. Still has that Mistbind click in his hand. He's found a creeping tar pit. And I think that's going to do it. He's trying to look scary.
Right.
But the scarf betrays him. And I think that Frank Karsten is just going to go into battle mode here.
I feel like we've seen a lot of this, like aggro decks attacking control decks, desperately trying to stave off lethal for as long as they can.
Yeah,
That's been the mode all day, hasn't
Yeah,
it?
it has, and it's tough too because, a deck like Affinity demands certain answers, but if you look at the Infect deck, it demands sometimes a different suite of answers, and the burn decks are different too.
You look at the 3/7/0 decks, by the way, are 3 different flavors of linear aggression.
Are they really?
There's an Infect deck at 7-0. There's an Affinity deck at 7-0. There's a Burn deck at 7-0. Those are your last 3 undefeateds.
Yeah.
Well, Yelger is 6-0-1 with Twin.
Okay.
That's the other undefeated. But yeah, this aggro gets there.
All right,
Affinity
that's going to do it.
Keep turning them sideways.
Yeah, so Frank Karsten wins his first game versus Osman Ozguney as you get a wider look at our feature match. And we'll be back right after these messages.
It's good.
Burn your fate into history. Fate Reforged is now available on Magic Online. Dive into the new set by downloading Magic Online at www.mtgo.com. Friday Night Magic has expanded to include all formats. Get ready for Commander, Legacy, or even Conspiracy drafts. Check out your local store for details and share your FNM stories by using the hashtag MTGFNM on Twitter. Visit magic.wizards.com/FNM for more information.
And welcome back to the feature match here at Pro Tour Fate Reforged. Let's take a look at what old Johnny Magic's up to on the back table there. John Finkel is playing.
Not Storm.
He's not playing Storm, and that is a bit of a sub-story here
Absolutely.
that we can take a look at. He's playing against Martin Müller from Denmark. You'll know him.
Martin Müller has a little
World
green
Magic
number
Cup.
under his life total because Finkel has joined most of the rest of Pantheon on this Infect list.
Yeah, and as I understand it, Pantheon actually chose to play Infect because they expected a lot of Obzon in the field.
Sure. That makes sense. These Lingering Souls have been giving them problems, though.
Yeah, from what I've heard, the Obzon deck they played with in-house was a little bit slower, and the ones they've been facing in the tournament are maybe a little more streamlined, a little bit more proactive.
These Lingering Souls have been big problems.
And it is Müller up a game. And this is Martin Müller. This is the Danish captain of the World Magic Cup team. So we saw him last time we were in the booth together, Marshall.
We did.
The Dane Blast.
Yeah. He's the champion.
So the tough thing for the Infect deck here is most of their creatures are 1/1. So each of those Lingering Souls tokens basically requires a pump spell to get through or trades with a creature.
Yeah, Pendelhaven makes that a little easier. We've seen that come up a couple of times, but short of Pendelhaven.
And
you're
even then,
trading.
you're still just left slogging through one by one.
Yeah, I have
which
not
is
seen
tough.
the Infect creatures successfully slog through a Lingering Souls yet.
haven't
I've seen him come close. I've seen him try. It feels like you really need to get, the Blighted Agent, or you need to set up Distortion Strike, maybe a Apostle's Blessing. Make your guy unblockable.
Distortion
Speaking of
Strike.
Distortion
You just
Strike.
mentioned that card, Randy. That is one of the few ways to get through here, and it's going to work nicely to get in for some extra poison here. So Distortion Strike says target creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn and can't be blocked this turn, and it also has Rebound. So if it resolves, he gets to do that again on his upkeep. It's a sorcery.
However, Tectonic Edge means there's not going to be anything for Finkel to point this out on the rebound.
Ooh, so Martin just effectively blanked.
Yeah,
the
I guess he's
Distortion
obliged
Strike.
to target one of the spirits, sure.
And another Ink Moth off the top, though. Even if Finkel ever finds a standalone Infect creature, or a Spellskite in this case, I saw that Martin's also got a Liliana of the Veil in his hand that he can use to just snipe that thing right out of there. Yeah, you got to like where Martin Müller is sitting here behind 4 Spirit tokens. He's taken some poison. He's at 3. He's not, completely out of the woods here. And this poison deck can win out of nowhere. There's no doubt about it. But looking at the board, looks pretty good for Müller.
These guys are both 6'1".
Finkel's just always...
Oh,
Is
wow.
it time to start beating down? Yes, he is
Austin-
going to start attacking here for 3.
Austin Burcevic, who is the other Infect player in the feature match area this round, he's now our king of the hill. Jelger Vikersma has gone down, and there is a poison deck at 8-0 overnight. It seems like Pantheon has done reasonably well with this Infect list. I mean, John's not in great shape here, but I saw someone on Twitter that's kind of keep track of sort of records by team, and in Constructed, it sounded like Pantheon amongst the big teams actually had the best constructed winning percentage as of like an hour ago.
So Noble Hierarch here, allowing John finally to start profitably attacking into those Lingering Souls tokens.
Yeah, it'll be nice too because it'll protect his Spellskite from Liliana of the Veil also. Though I see that Muller also's got, I believe, a Path to Exile in his hand too. So there's some work to be done, but he's got the tools to do it. Okay. He actually just sacked the Spellskite.
I think
so
Exalted is better here than Spellskite.
well, after Path to Exile hits that.
Oh, wow.
that
Can it replace
Inkmoth,
Liliana?
wow, aggressive. Minus it. You sack a creature. So now he's got Finkel down to no creatures on board. Just an
see the-
Inkmoth to attack with.
The attrition strategy here just on full display.
Yeah.
There's a path for that Nexus. John's down to just lands.
Yeah, John needs to find something like a Vines of Vastwood.
He had one. He lost it to Liliana's plus ability.
Yeah. Yeah, I like how Martin's played this as well. He's left John Finkel with no reasonable attack here. Taking out the Noble Hierarch eventually means that the Inkmoth can't attack on its own through the 1/1 Flying Spirit, so now it's up to actual pump spells to start trading for those tokens. And like you mentioned earlier, Randy, that's just not a long-term viable game plan. And John has nothing this time. He's down to 10 life.
Both players pitch a land to Liliana's plus.
Yeah, these attrition strategies and attacking card quantity, particularly effective against a deck like John's, because as a combo deck, he needs a critical mass of creatures and pump spells to really achieve anything. All of his creatures on their own are relatively weak.
Yeah, especially compared to the modern slate of creatures, which are quite strong.
And we'll let you know if John is able to stitch something together and force a game 3 there. But we want to go back to the Faeries and the Affinity.
All right, those are not on the battlefield. Now,
They could be if
given
Frank
that
had
it's
been on the
Affinity,
play.
it's completely possible. But they're not. So a pair of Mox Opals, Darksteel Citadel, see a Steel Overseer, and a pair of Master of Ethereum are being thought over here.
So interesting. I was actually wondering whether Osman would leave in his hand disruption. I think on the play, it's a good choice. The Affinity deck can be pretty fragile if you take a key card away from their opening hand. I think on the draw, the hand disruption loses a lot of value because the Affinity deck might just explode and dump most of its hand on turn 1.
All right, well, he grabs a Steel Overseer with the Thoughtseize and drops down to 18. It has to be very good, right? I mean, playing Thoughtseize against an aggressive opponent does not feel great unless you're really picking apart their hand in a meaningful way.
Update on a back table, by the way. Seth Manfield has evened things up against Roberto Esposito. So they're going to game 3, and the winner will be joining Austin Bursavich as the only 2 8-0s overnight. Will it be Burn or will it be Affinity?
I just saw a handshake on our other table as well. So Miller's going to win 2 games to 0 over John Finkel.
Yep. John goes 6-2, still in position. Martin Mueller continuing his hot streak, though. 7-1 following up that World Team title.
So another slow start here from Frank Karsten with Affinity.
Sure.
Definitely what Osman's looking for. Give him some time to get some lands into play and get his counter magic online. Although I do have to imagine he sideboarded out, some number of counter spells or mana leaks, probably not being super effective against the Affinity deck.
Vault Scourge is all that Carson can come up with on his turn. Not amazing.
We see in Osman's hand he's sitting on a Spell Stutter Sprite. Not able to counter the Vault Scourge just yet, but next turn he'll have Mutavault to get that up to X = 2.
Reveals
He's
it.
going to reveal still, yeah, the Spell Stutter.
Go.
Spellstutter Strike seems pretty good against Affinity because the body's so relevant. It trades with so many of their creatures. In particular, the Manlands, Blinkmoth, and Inkmoth Nexus.
Right.
Trade for Fault Scourge, blocks the Signal Pest. Definitely.
Results.
Or would have.
Karsten has a 3-drop.
Before Master of Ethereum came down anyway.
Yeah, which can get around Spellstutter Sprite this turn. Could have countered it too.
16, I'm at 22.
Yeah.
But not a 3.
Go.
Black mana now.
Okay.
And it looks like Victim of Night
not
is going
a-
to work
it's a
this time, though. For
Karsten doing
Yeah.
a quick creature type check on there, making sure it's not a zombie, vampire, or werewolf, which it is not.
What is it, a
Werewolf.
construct? Or
It's a wizard.
Yeah.
is it a wizard?
He's the Master of Ethereum.
Yeah, it's a Vidalcan wizard. Good call, Randy.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a replacement.
Yep, another Master of Ethereum comes down. And what else does he have? Oh,
Yeah.
there's that Thoughtcast. You got to like where Frank's sitting here. He's just resolved one of his better threats and a Thoughtcast all in this one turn.
Thank you. The Vault Scourge for 2.
I take 2.
The Thoughtcasts have been pretty valuable for Karsten so far. I
true.
think the way the Faeries deck wants this to play out is sort of as an attrition battle, trying to leverage some 2-for-1s from things like Cryptic Command and Spellstutter
Jeez.
Sprite.
Wow.
Go.
Carson just went off. He used your favorite mode on Mox Opal there, Randy.
The Lotus Petal
he Lotus
mode?
Petaled it, yeah. So if you can tap that for mana, play the second copy. It's legendary.
Which one do you think you should keep?
Get rid of the tapped one.
Usually
and
you
then
keep
tap
the untapped
second
one, exactly.
Yeah, so it's pretty nice. It's a neat little trick that gets around. Lets you get a little bit of extra mana. It means that the ones that are stranded in your hand aren't completely useless.
Yeah, getting that Steel Overseer onto the board before Osman could untap and threaten permission is pretty nice there. I mean, Osman basically only got to do one thing on that turn cycle, right? He got to Victim of Night. And Karsten was like, okay, I'm sad that I lost Master of Ethereum, but I'll play Master of Ethereum and Thoughtcast and Steel Overseer. And I think the Mem Knight was last turn, too.
It was a ridiculous turn. He should have Storm comboed off there. He played so many spells.
That Storm count was up to like 5.
And this is the real danger for the Faeries deck in this matchup. We can see Osman Ozguney sitting on a handful of reactive cards
Yeah, how do
that
you catch up?
they just didn't match up in the
No.
right way against the Affinity X threats. You know, in part due to Karsten wisely playing around the Spellstutter Sprite that he knew about. But it's going to be hard for him to get this presence off the battlefield at this point.
You have no cards in hand, huh, Frank?
No, I don't need cards.
Frank. What a great answer. I don't have any in my hand because they're all on the battlefield.
I mean, Batterskull would be a decent play here, I guess, to get something on the board. I don't think just fogging each turn with a Cryptic Command is really going to get him very far. On the other hand, Batterskull not able to block that Master of Ethereum and just allows that Steel Overseer to remain in play, pumping up Frank's army every turn.
It does seem like it's probably better than not playing a Batterskull.
I agree.
So we tap 4 mana.
This is Cryptic Command? Bounce Draw? No, okay. It's counting problems.
There it is. There's the Batterskull. All right. We'll get a germ token under that thing, and bang, Batterskull engaged. So that will buy him a few turns here, though. Frank Karsten's army is going to get really big, really fast, and it'll even overwhelm a Batterskull fairly quickly here. Yeah. So Osman still has a lot of work to do. Normally, when you're playing against an aggressive deck, you resolve a Batterskull, you start to feel pretty good about yourself. But Steel Overseer is going to do overtime here.
Yeah,
And by the way, the Master of Ethereum has gotten huge.
Yep, each of these Blink Moths threatens to attack for
Love
3
that
between the Master of Ethereum and the Steel Overseer. And getting counters onto the Blink Moth Nexuses a real advantage for Frank Karsten here because they let him play around Cryptic Command so successfully.
Right.
Karsten can go to his attack step, ask if Ozguney has the Cryptic Command to tap his creatures, and if he does, then he can activate the lands afterwards and attack with them.
He's doing the math, which is exactly what Frank Karsten's best at.
Wow, is he thinking
But the
about...
numbers are getting very high here.
He's thinking about whether to attack with Memnite, which is kind of interesting. The Batterskull can eat the Memnite, but if he does, hey, that means Master of Ethereum connected for a bunch. How big is the Master? 8?
Looks like...
If the Master's 8, then...
With the Blink Moths active.
I think he may be obliged to block the Master.
What's the power of this one?
It's 8.
It's currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Right, can get to 9 with the Overseer. So were he to block Memnite, he'd be taking 3, 6, 9, 18, and even gaining 4 wouldn't be good enough.
Sweet.
Right, if Osman...
Yeah, that's...
I'm doing the math right, aren't I?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think he's obliged to block Masters.
I'm blocking it.
So, all right, fine, take 12. Just 12.
Wow.
Effectively 8. With the get 4 life from the Batterskull.
Pass to 18.
Yes, and then you take 12 in total.
9. For just 3.
Yes,
No,
Okay.
Memnite, 12.
plus 3 again.
12.
So 12. So that means you go down to 6.
18, 12.
Update on the other Affinity match. Sounds like an explosive start for Esposito, but Seth Manfield had the burn that he needed to get to 8-0. 3-time GP champ. Looking to break through on the Pro Tour.
Putting up the big numbers. Yeah, that's great. Good to see Seth doing well. He's got that burn deck really firing on all
So
cylinders.
I'm 6, huh?
Meanwhile, so is Frank Karsten. Take a look
Yeah.
at this board state. Now things are getting out of hand. Like you mentioned, Ian, the Blink Moth Nexuses now have counters on them, meaning the Cryptic Command gets significantly worse.
And
also,
in fact,
the Steel Overseer is still going.
Yep, with Osman at 6, now even a Cryptic Command doesn't get him out of this because,
He's dead.
yeah, I mean, if he lets Frank attack, Frank has lethal there even without the Blink Moth Nexuses. If he taps all of Frank Karsten's creatures, then afterwards the Blink Moths animate and
They're lethal all by
they're
themselves.
lethal. So I
Yeah.
think all Osman can really do is tap Frank's team and try to
Draw.
bounce the Master of Ethereum back to his hand.
But then the Steel Overseer just gets him anyway, right?
No, I don't think so, because if he wanted to get counters on the Blink Moths, he'd
Yeah.
have to activate them before the tap resolves from the Cryptic Command.
Ah, right, of course, because that would also tap down the Overseer.
Yeah, so I believe Osman can survive one more turn by doing that, although he also has a Dismember in his hand now too, which he might be able to combine with the Cryptic Command to sneak away out of this.
Okay, sorry.
Hard to do enough with a Dismember. Can't really afford to pay much Phyrexian mana. Like, Dismember would have to be the only thing he's doing, and it doesn't do as much
Right,
as
yeah, he
Cryptic.
does only have 5 lands, so you'd have to pay more
Right, it's
life
gotta
than
be
damage you'd be
Cryptic.
taking anyway.
Yeah, tap, bounce, Master buys him a turn, we
Bounce
think.
and tap all your creatures.
Oh, so does that one.
Could
That
do the
also
same
buys him a
thing.
turn.
That's
It makes it easier.
fine. In response, I will
Tap it to
tap this
activate itself,
for a mana.
Yeah.
so that it can get a counter from the Steel Overseer.
Well, it's going to get bounced, right?
Oh, that's true. He gets a mana for free
Then
to activate the other one.
Counters on everything.
Okay.
Briefly gets a counter from
It does. It will pick up a counter. And it will fall off.
Then this can resolve, so this will be
And he's got that mana
bounced.
floating
All
still.
the creatures are tapped.
Yeah.
Instead of priority in first combat, activate this.
Yeah.
Attack you.
Attack for 2. Oh, it is
4
3, actually.
Damage.
Sorry.
Master's still in place.
Yeah.
Yes,
3
Master
damage.
is still in play. He bounced. Instead of bouncing the Master, he decided to bounce the Blink Moth.
Then I will
Hey, look.
play it again. And
Oh, Frank.
pause the turn.
So, Frank.
Why is the Darksteel
nonchalant,
Citadel stacked? What did I miss?
I think
He attacked with it.
Did he activate it twice? No, the Darksteel Citadel.
Oh, the Citadel.
Yeah,
sorry.
for whatever reason, I think he didn't use the mana he had floating from the first Blink Moth Nexus and just tapped the
He
Darksteel
just tapped an
Citadel.
extra land.
Yeah.
Good game.
Yep.
And
there
that's
you
going
go.
to do it.
Yep.
Frank Karsten picks up his 7th win of the tournament, which is going to put him at 7-1. And it's going to put Osman Ozguney down to 6-2, but still a very respectable day one for him.
Oh, yeah, 6-2. You're still on the first page of the leaderboard.
Yeah.
Like 7-1, you're tied for 3rd.
And that's his first PT.
Right.
So really great start for Ozguney there. Good for him. Magic
Gonna be
Online
some
player
good
from
7-1s
Turkey.
too.
Yeah, for sure. We've already
Exciting
seen quite
to
a
see
few.
that Faeries deck doing well, too. I mean, it's, a relatively uncommon deck in Modern still today. So
It's very uncommon.
Yeah.
You don't. I haven't seen that deck do well. Yeah, but it looks sweet, and I'm certainly happy to see it there. So I've got Ian Duke with me here in the booth, as well as Randy Buehler, and in just a moment we're actually going to have a chance to have a quick chat with Frank Karsten.
I guess Hall of Famers went 1-2 in that feature match round. Right, Yelgard lost,
Yes.
John lost, but Frank got the job done.
But Frank got the job done.
It's some Hall. There's V's also sitting on 6-1 coming into this round. There's definitely got some old school talent and some new school talent at the top of the Swiss so far.
Yeah,
today.
we've seen Frank play this Affinity deck for quite a while now, but it is interesting to see that he's made changes, right? Like it's not just the same list he just brings every time and kind of dusts it off and says, "Okay, let's go to battle, boys." You know, it's like it's a deck that morphs a lot in different directions, and he's even brought in some of the cards that he said, I don't think you should really be playing this, like Thoughtcast.
Well, you know what? The world changed. Treasure Cruise got banned. Dig got banned. Pod got banned. Obzon was correctly anticipated to rise up the metagame. Changes things.
It changes things for sure. And, of course, the players that adapt more will have a bigger advantage on the rest of the field.
yeah,
which
those
is what
relatively
we've
small
seen.
changes can make a big difference.
Yeah, and you see that pretty often, too, in Modern because there are so many options for each deck. All right, so why don't we head down to the feature match area once again where Tim Willoughby is standing with Frank Karsten.
Hello, I'm Tim Willoughby here down in the feature match area with Frank Karsten. Now, when the bannings happened in the Modern format, there were a lot of people that sort of said, oh, my favorite deck, suddenly I can't really play it in the same way. It's not going to be quite the same. How did you feel when you saw how the bannings worked out?
I was like, well, at least I will have Affinity as my plan B. Actually, the first thing that I thought was, ooh, Golgari Grave Troll, maybe we can break it. But then, well, we didn't, and my favorite deck was still around, so it was an easy pick. I've been playing this deck for such a long time, and I enjoy it, that it was an easy choice. Yeah.
I mean, I guess one of the interesting things about Affinity, though, is that it's not as if the build is completely static, right? There's quite a lot of cards that move around. I know that you were talking the other night about Welding Jar and trying to work out how many, if any, you wanted to play. How difficult was it getting to the perfect 75 for this show?
Well, I mean, it wasn't difficult getting to the perfect, like, 73 or 74. Just the last card is always kind of a difficult one to pick for me because you want to get, like, this amount of, like, big cards in the deck and this amount of lands, and I actually hate Welding Jar, but, like, both Stanislav Sivka and Ivan Vloch told me that it was good. So I just trusted their opinion and went with it. The last couple of sideboard cards were kind of up in the air as well, but I basically had my, let's say, 73 cards already locked at the time the bannings came out. Yeah, there is not a lot you can, like, tweak with the deck if you want to keep the coherent, synergistic, aggressive whole. So,
I mean, what were the last two, if you don't mind my asking? Were there two that were like, I guess these will be good enough?
they were Master of Ethereum and Galvanic Blast.
And we saw the Galvanic Blast was obviously fantastic against that misbind click in this, so it all worked out just fine. So 7-1 today, back to drafting tomorrow, and then a little bit more Affinity. A pretty good weekend for you already.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm looking forward to tomorrow for sure. Yeah.
Fantastic. I've been Tim Willoughby down on the feature match area floor. We're going to head back to the news desk now for a few more people who've had a really good day one.
All right, thanks so much to Tim Willoughby down on the floor there with Frank Karsten. He is 7-1. Now, in a way, not a big surprise. Frank's a Hall of Famer. But someone who is a bit of a surprise to be at 7-1, congratulations to Matt Oldaker. Hope I've got that right. Oldaker, maybe, from the United States of America. 38 years old, playing in his first Pro Tour. He is 7-1, having defeated Jason Chung, a very fine New Zealander, who falls to 6-2. Some other results to pick up as everyone comes through through here at the news desk. Zvi Moshevitz, the Hall of Famer, 7-1, having defeated your number 13 ranked player Stanislav Sivka of the Czech Republic. Sivka falls to 5-2-1. Now that draw, most of the time we think of that as bad news, but it does mean that he has that one extra point over the 5-3s. Basically comes back tomorrow, has to win out more or less. Other big results coming in as we try and find you the 8-0s and so on. Austin Bursovic, you know, defeated Jelga Vigasma. Marco Lombardi goes to 7-1, the Italian, over Matt Severa of the United States. He's at 6-2. And then from Korea, big story for this. Well done, South Korea's Kim Sang-yeon defeated Joel Larson, who goes to 6-2. And a huge match was Jacob Wilson going to 7-1 over Yuki Ichikawa, 6-2. Only the 6th ever modern premier event defeat for Ichikawa. Watch out for him again tomorrow. Paul Rietzel is 6-2. Of course, the 6-2s pile up. We reckon the best part is 7 draft pods, so round about 56 or so coming in tomorrow will be on 6-2 or better. A couple more to bring you as we head down. Seth Manfield, you know, is 8-0. Robert Esposito falls to 7-1. Martin Muller was winner in the feature match area, 7-1 over John Finkel, who falls to 6-2. And Frank Karsten, of course, defeating Osman Ozguney. Just come in, Jesse Hampton goes to 7-1 over Michael Vasovsky of Canada. So why don't we take you across the studio? We have one of our 8-0 players ready. So here's Brian David Marshall with Austin Bursovic.
Hi everybody, Brian David Marshall here in the comfy chairs. They're extra comfortable for my guest, Austin Bursovic. Austin, you're sitting here at 8-0. Is this clearly the best start you've ever had on a Pro Tour?
Yeah, definitely. It's only my second Pro Tour, and last time I think I was 4-0, but then ended like 5-3 or something, so.
Okay, so you're a 2-time Grand Prix top 8 competitor. Yep. You're going to be going to your first Pro Tour Day 2. Tell us about what deck you're playing. It's really the breakout deck at this tournament.
Yep.
What are you playing?
Blue-green Infect. Yep, that's it.
You seem a little underwhelmed by it. The deck's carried you to 8-0 here.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I think it's one of the best decks, but it was obviously a little under the radar all the time, but Ole, Rod, or whatever, played it online in Legacy, and then started playing it in Modern, and then Tom started playing it, so.
And by Tom, of course, you mean Tom Ross?
Yeah, Tom Ross.
You guys are both from Louisiana?
Yeah, he's one of my good friends, and we live in the same town now. He's always been around, but now he moved like 5 minutes away, so.
Okay, so
yeah.
that's pretty good if you're tuning up an Infect deck for a Pro Tour.
Yeah, it's all Tom's work. Yeah.
Okay, so how did you come to, get access to this precious deck list?
Well, me and Tom were just talking about Modern and stuff, but right before they banned the cards, and we were trying to figure it out, and I thought I might play Infect, and he said he thought it was probably going to be good if they banned Cruise and Dig and stuff, and then once it happened, I was trying to make a 3-color list or like a fast list or something, but then he went to DC 2 weeks ago for some other event, and he stayed until then, so I haven't been with him, but yeah, I was assuming he was going to test it, and then when I got here, he's rooming with me, and he just gave me his list, so easy.
Pretty
Copy
nice.
that. Has to be a good idea.
There are copies of this deck littered among the top tables.
Yeah.
It's really doing well. Austin, you're someone you played a lot more Magic. You were a pretty active grinder. I think is the euphemism people use.
Yeah.
You were playing a lot. Not playing as much now because you are an MTG dad.
That is correct.
You have a baby just 14 months old, I think you said?
Almost 14 months.
Yeah, so just a little over a year. That takes up a lot of your time.
Definitely. It's a lot harder to play.
I was talking to Zvi Moshevitz. I alluded to this. I didn't get to the question at the desk earlier with Rich, but Zvi Moshevitz, another recent Magic dad.
Okay, yeah.
I was wondering what's going to happen first, and you may have some say in this with how you do over the rest of the weekend.
Oh yeah.
A Pro Tour winner who is a dad or mom at the time of their winning, or the son or daughter of a Pro Tour champion winning a Pro Tour themselves. What do you think's going to happen first?
It's got to be the first one, because I'm going to win this one. But if I don't win this one, then maybe it's close, but it's not
You're
close.
the only hope?
Yeah. Me and Zvi, I guess. He's playing a good deck too.
Yeah. So what's your plan? You describe yourself as more of a drafter.
Yeah, definitely.
So tell us a little bit about your first draft, how that went for you today.
It went very well. I have a lot of thoughts that are different than almost everyone else.
Ooh, I like
think,
this.
Yeah, I think I'm right. And I talked to Tom, and he said he agrees. We talked about some of the choices and what we do, but it's very unorthodox. And I think eventually people will start to figure out that it's definitely like a good plan, but it's especially a good plan from the Pro Tour, I think, because I don't exactly want to say what it is.
I got you. I understood.
But,
I heard you. I heard you skirting around the
yeah,
subject.
but it's just like it's hard for people to like go into doing certain things. Like people just are nervous, the time pressure. They just do safe things. Like everyone just drafts kind of straightforward. So if you have a plan ahead of time, it really helps if you're not nervous and just if you're just comfortable.
At 8-0, we're gonna get to see Austin draft tomorrow. We're gonna be able to follow your draft. The draft
you can do that.
So you've done a great job teasing this out for us.
They're gonna talk about it on the chat and say what's going on. But
all right. So Austin, good luck getting a good night's sleep tonight.
Yeah,
that might be the toughest part of this weekend for
maybe.
you. So for Austin Bursavich, this is Brian David Marshall sending it back to the news desk.
What a terrific guy, Austin Bursavich there, 8-0. Well, there can't be many people at 8-0. We'll be queuing up Seth Manfield, the other 8-0 player, in just a moment. But some more scores coming in. Now, Willie Adel, we thought he would be on Abzan. He's at 6-2 overnight. Tom Martell, your Pro Tour Gate Crash champion, is 6-2. I got to watch a little of home team, for me at least, the United Kingdom. Stephen Murray of Scotland, up to 7-1, beat Marco Camiluzzi on Scape Shift, Murray on Living End. And it turns out that Boyle is quite good when it gets rid of 7 lands. And Stephen Murray of Scotland is 7-1, one of the finest Scottish players ever. Great job by him. We'll get a chance to talk to him tomorrow morning, perhaps. Li Shi Chan of Hong Kong, 6-2. Daryl Ayres, 6-2. A big matchup was Kentaro Yamamoto against Eric Froelich, last weekend's Grand Prix champion. Froelich wins. So Froelich, who picked up his first ever trophy, I still can't really believe that's true, at the Grand Prix last weekend, is now at 7-1 and ahead of the curve for top 8. Yamamoto at 6-2 needs to do it all again, and maybe 12-4 sneaks in, but with a field this big, it might be you need to be 12-3-1 or better to guarantee your slot on Sunday. More results. Reed Duke is a winner. He is up to 6-2. So is David Ochoa, who we haven't really seen most of the day. He's been quietly going about his business, but 6-2, a fine overnight score for him. Now, how about this for a matchup going into the last round? Neil Oliver of Team USA from the World Magic Cup against Andrew Beckstrom of Team USA from Nice. Beckstrom wins that one. He's at 6-2. Neil Oliver through, of course, today too, but at 5-3. More 6-2s, Chris Fennell, Paul Rietzel, the runner-up from the Grand Prix last time, Hall of Famer, of course. They're all going to be jockeying for position. Some of those limited pods tomorrow morning for Fate Reforged Khans are going to be crazy. Incidentally, if you want to join us on social media, don't forget to use the hashtag #BestDeck. If you want to say, what do you think the best deck in Modern is right now? You've seen one day of Modern action. We've got 2 more ahead. What is the best deck? #BestDeck to give us your thoughts on that. And also, a little bit easier than it was this time yesterday, use the hashtag FantasyPT to tell us 3 people who you think can win this Pro Tour. Clue, some of them already gone. So make sure you check the standings at the end of the day. But tweet us, #FantasyPT. All right, back across the studio we go. Brian David Marshall is in the company of the hat-wearing, very happy 8-0 Seth Manfield.
Hi, everybody. Brian David Marshall here with 3-time Grand Prix champion Seth Manfield. And, you know, if you're wondering why Birthing Pod is banned in Modern, this is one of the guys that contributed. He won a Grand Prix playing Birthing Pod.
Yeah, I basically played Pod in every Modern tournament up until it got banned. So I was like, what am I going to play now?
Well, and what you played now, we had you come in earlier today, walk us through some of the archetypes that are, opened up in this field. And you were talking about Burn, and that's a deck we've seen you play on camera.
Yep.
Well, it's worked out pretty well so far.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking I don't want to show up to the PT with Burn because, it's like the life totals, like your opponent ends the game at 1 or 2 life and you feel frustrated. But honestly, even though I think it gets a bad rap as a deck as just being like low play skill and, sort of a coin flippy deck, but you know, me and a few other guys from Team TCG Player, Logan Mize, Chris Fennell, we basically came up with a really good list of burn. And right now, I think it's about getting small edges, and I've obviously been running well, but I also feel like I have small edges in some spots. And
well, what's a small edge you can get with a deck like this? Like, what are the things you need to find to make a deck like this work?
I think like a lot of the cards are pretty standard. I think the sideboard, you have some room to work. There's a couple main deck slots, and just knowing each matchup, just playing a lot of games against, like, it's not that easy. I'm gonna lava spike you know, 8 times or whatever. It's not that easy. So, you know.
How scary is Spellscape for you? It's a card we've seen a lot of in this room today.
You know, I played against it a couple rounds and I've been able to deal with it. So it's not the card I'm most worried about. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
I have some answers. So.
Okay. All right. Tell me a little bit about your first draft. Tell us how that went.
My first draft, it wasn't anything spectacular. I went Sultai, but it was basically I just picked, whenever I saw a land, I picked it. I think I had about 5 tap lands and Opulent Palace, so my mana was great. And I just had some solid removal spells and some card draw, like Bitter Revelation, Sultai Soothsayer, and I mean that was plenty. It felt great. I mean,
no bombastic card that you opened and you were like, this is what I'm going to do. Just kind of reading the table.
No bombs, yeah. So I had a Murderous Cut. That was my bomb.
That's a pretty big bomb there. Actually,
yeah.
It deals with almost everything except like maybe a Solemgar or a Sagu Ball.
Yeah, it feels great because I feel more confident in Limited. So to come off of a 5-0 in Constructed, I feel, you know, sometimes you go into a Pro Tour and you start out reasonably well in Limited and you have no idea how your deck's gonna do in Constructed.
So you're heading into another draft tomorrow. You'll be 8-0. You'll be joined by Austin, who we had in the chairs, and then, you know, a number of players who are 7-1, people who know their way around the Pro Tour. You know, a little more tightly grouped, you know, skill level of players than you might get in the opening rounds of a Pro Tour. What's your plan for sitting down at that draft table?
I mean, it's gonna be tough, you know. Like, I played Zvi earlier and I was able to beat him, but then he ran off 5 more wins. So I might be playing him again. I might be playing, you know, a few of the guys who I've already played who also 3-0'd their draft pods. Most of the players in the first pod are gonna have come off of like a 3-0, and it's gonna be a battle for sure. I mean, I've been practicing the format, so I feel like, you know, I feel fine, but you never know what can happen. So.
Okay, you're going to bed.
Yeah.
And before you go to bed, you tuck one magic card under your pillow so that you can open it when you open that first Fate Reforged pack tomorrow morning. What would that card be?
Probably Citadel Siege.
Okay.
I'll take that. I mean,
sure. All right. Someone get South of Citadel Siege. You can put under his pillow. He's 8-0. He's going to be looking to become King of the Hill. We're going to see him tomorrow morning. We're going to be able to follow his draft. And of course, we'll be following him and all the other players through the last 5 rounds of Modern as well as we determine our top 8 here at Pro Tour Fate Reforged. I'm Brian David Marshall, sending it back to the news desk.
Thanks so much, BDM. Now, yesterday we had a bunch of players come in to tell us about their hopes and expectations. Tom Martell, I think, will be very happy, pleased with his 6-2 overnight. Why don't we hear his thoughts on the eve of the tournament?
Hello there. I am sitting here with Tom Martell. Tom, I want to get a pre-tournament vibe from you here.
Sure, absolutely.
You know, you've been testing for a while now. How are you feeling coming into Pro Tour Fate Reforged?
I'm feeling pretty good, actually. I think so. Our team was sizable this time.
It was huge.
It was a large team.
We really had. I mean, do you know how many? It's like 20 plus, right?
Maybe. I actually didn't try to count.
It feels like more than that. But
so we got together in California the weekend before San Jose, and that was 12 people total. 13 once Brian showed up on Wednesday, so we had 13 people there before that GP. And then,
which is already a team.
That's a pretty sizable team.
Mm-hmm.
But then, you know, Ifro, Luis showed up. Paul got added to the team when he spiked his LCQ, which is pretty awesome. So definitely the team grew a little bit incrementally as the process went on. A couple of people showed up here in DC as well, maybe another 3 or 4 people. So 20 probably sounds about right.
Yeah, 20-ish.
I think for a lot of the process we had active people remotely, contributing online, and then a core of 12 people in person. Really 11. I was actually there surprisingly little for it being at my house. Unfortunately, my job intervened, and I was working pretty brutal hours that week. But thankfully, had a lot of people there. I came home to a full house of gamers every night. Which is a nice thing to come home to.
Yeah. Now, talk to us about who you're testing with. You know, most people that have started watching the Pro Tour recently will be familiar with you testing with the Pantheon.
Sure.
But not this time.
Not this time. So yeah, so partially, I mean, the Pantheon's rules are such that if you want to play in the GP the weekend before, you have to not work with them. And since the GP was in San Jose and I live right there, that was definitely appealing to me. Also, just because I knew my work schedule was going to be pretty hectic, I just wasn't going to be able to get away that far in advance. So I talked to Luis and other members of the original Channel Fireball team, who I worked with a couple times way back when, about working with them, and they were willing to have me, which was very nice of them, and I had a great time working with them.
What's it like transitioning from one team to another? Like, are the Pantheon guys going to be like, oh, that Martel, he went away from us, or are you going to be able to go back there if you wanted to? Like, is it pretty fluid with the pro community there, or is there tension?
I think we're all still friends, hopefully. I don't think there's any hard feelings over people switching. I don't want to speculate on what might happen for future Pro Tours. That's, I think it's just people's life cycles change and their needs change, and I think the teams are pretty accommodating of finding people you want to work with and finding a home for them. And we're all still friends. Some of my best friends are on Pantheon, certainly within the Magic community. And then also for this tournament, Sam Black went off and did the online team.
Yep.
Which they may have a name yet, I'm not sure.
Not yet.
Yeah, and again, for him, because just his needs for this tournament changed, and I think it means he's gone from Pantheon forever, probably not. But it's just these things happen.
Now, with the new team, you mentioned that there were some people testing a little bit more remotely and some people in-house. What's your feelings after having gone through a full testing with really a huge team? So this was Team Face to Face.
Yep. So Team Face to Face Games partnered with Team Channel Fireball. So the two of us working together, and that's I don't want to try to get all the names. I'll miss someone, but
no, don't worry.
But and then adding on a couple additional people, Brandon Nelson, who lives in Denver with Luis Scott Vargas, so they could test together locally. That was a great resource for both of them. So Luis showed up having played a lot of games in person. Especially since the set's not out on Magic Online, the ban list wasn't updated yet. There's challenges to playing a lot of Moto for this tournament. So it was helpful having these little clusters of people that could all work together and then all get together and share your thoughts and really crank through it in the final week.
Now, after having gone through it, do you feel like a team of this size and the way that it's set up is a strong testing option? Or coming through it, did you see some weaknesses to the way that it went just because there's so many people?
No, that was actually fine. I mean, the real concern when you have a lot of people is, well, when you break it, like 10% of the tournament is playing your deck, and you play a lot of mirror matches. In a format like Modern, where everyone gets pulled in their own directions anyway, and there are a million viable decks, there's a lot of things to crank through. Having extra people, having one person who really likes to play Affinity and one person who likes to play Living End, you're going to have good lists of those, you're going to get good testing in. Whereas in a format like Standard, where there's only 5 decks, you don't need that as much.
Before I let you go, so Ben Stark was traditionally the limited mind behind that team. He's not there anymore. Who took the role?
I'm not sure there's a dedicated limited person. So I mean, yesterday we got together, with all 20 of us in a conference room with a projector and a laptop, and I kind of coordinated, but just chaperoned, putting together kind of our draft thoughts. But everyone's chiming in. We have some great limited minds. We've the guys who just won a team limited tournament. Ifro, LSV, and Cheon all have tremendous thoughts on this format. Ifro in general just is an exceptional player and a great limited mind. I think underrated in that you don't hear mentioned, but really should be. And I think a lot of us, looking to see what he thinks and his opinions. And there's a lot of deference there because he just has that track record. So I think I haven't actually worked with Ben in 5 years on limited. So I haven't had the chance to go through that experience, but I thought what we did here was tremendous output, and it was really useful.
All right, a big team effort for Tom Martell and company. Tom, I wish you luck in the tournament.